The birthday silence at KeanuReeves never expected birthdays to feel heavy. For most people, birthdays were full of noise, laughter, and celebration. But for him, birthdays were always quiet. He had lost too much in life, and every year the day carried more memories than joy. So on this birthday, he kept it simple. No parties, no big events. Just a small dinner with close friends who respected his wish for silence. The evening had been gentle. Candles flickered on the table, soft music played in the background, and Keanu smiled politely as his friends offered him gifts. He appreciated the love, but deep inside, there was a space no gift could fill. It was the space of someone who had once walked beside him, someone who had left but never truly disappeared from his heart. Alexandra Grant. They had shared years of quiet love, built on trust, kindness, and deep respect, but life had pulled them apart. Some said it was distance, others whispered about differences, but the truth was simpler. Sometimes even love could break under the weight of pain. And when Alexandra walked away, she left behind a silence Keanu never filled. So when the dinner ended, and the night grew still, Keanu walked outside onto his balcony, looking at the city lights. He whispered to himself, "Happy birthday," as if saying it alone would make the day mean something. The stars above looked cold, distant, and he felt the familiar ache of loneliness settle in. Then, just as he turned to go back inside, he heard footsteps, soft, hesitant, almost uncertain. His heart skipped. He wasn't expecting anyone else. He froze when he saw her, Alexandra, standing there, her hair touched by the light of the candles from inside, her eyes carrying both sorrow and courage. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The air between them was heavy, almost trembling with all the words they had left unsaid. Keanu's lips parted, but no sound came. Alexandra was the one who finally broke the silence. Her voice was soft, almost breaking. "Happy birthday, Keanu." The words hit him harder than any gift ever could. His chest tightened, his breath caught, and emotions he had buried for so long rose to the surface. She looked different, a little thinner, a little older. But her presence was the same, the presence that always made him feel seen, not as an actor, not as a star, but as a man. "Why now?" he whispered, his voice shaking. "After all this time, why come back tonight?" Alexandra's eyes filled with tears, her voice trembling as she said, "Because there are things you need to know, things I should have told you before I left, and tonight I couldn't stay away." Keanu's heart pounded. This was the last thing he expected on his birthday, the return of the one person who had left him broken. And now she stood before him with secrets in her eyes. The secret returned. The balcony was quiet, the city lights stretching endlessly in the distance. But Keanu Reeves could hear only the sound of his heart pounding. Alexandra Grant stood before him, her presence both comforting and unsettling. Years of silence stood between them, and now she had returned on the one day he least expected. Keanu's voice trembled as he asked again, "Why now, Alexandra? After all this time, why tonight?" Alexandra took a slow breath, her eyes lowering as if searching for the right words. "Because time is not promised, Keanu," she said softly, "and I realized I could not carry this secret any longer. I needed you to know the truth before it was too late." The words pierced him. "Too late," he whispered. His mind swirled with possibilities, none of them comforting. She stepped closer, her hands shaking slightly. "When I walked away from you, it wasn't because I stopped caring. It wasn't because I stopped loving you. I left because I was afraid. Afraid of the weight I was carrying. Afraid of what it would do to us if you knew." Keanu's chest tightened. Her voice was full of sorrow, and it shook something deep inside him. "You think I would have turned away from you?" he asked quietly. "After everything we shared?" Her eyes filled with tears, and she shook her head. "No, but I thought you had already suffered enough. You lost so much, Keanu. I couldn't bear to be the one who brought more pain into your life, so I thought leaving was protecting you. But I was wrong. I see that now." Silence settled again, heavy and sharp. Keanu stepped closer, searching her face. "What secret, Alexandra? What could possibly have made you walk away from us?" She swallowed hard, her voice breaking. "When I left, I discovered something about my health, something I didn't tell anyone. I have been fighting it quietly, alone, because I didn't want to see the look of fear in your eyes. But tonight, I couldn't hide anymore. The ground beneath him seemed to vanish. Keanu's breath caught, his heart aching as the reality sank in. You've been sick all this time? Alexandra nodded slowly, tears rolling down her cheeks. Yes, and I thought if I distanced myself, it would spare you. But instead, it left us both broken. I don't know how much time I have, Keanu, and I don't want to waste another day without you knowing the truth. Keanu felt his chest collapse with grief and anger. Not anger at her, but at fate, at life itself for testing him once more. He wanted to shout, to cry, to demand why she hadn't trusted him. But instead he reached for her trembling hands. You should have told me, he whispered. You should have let me fight with you. Don't you know? I would have walked through fire if it meant not losing you. Her tears fell freely now, her body shaking. I know, she whispered back, and that's why I came tonight. Because I couldn't keep you in the dark anymore. Because whatever happens now, I need you to know I never stopped loving you. Keanu held her hands tightly, his heart torn between sorrow and relief. Relief because she was here, standing before him. Sorrow because the clock on their time together was uncertain, fragile, and slipping through their fingers. Asterisk the weight of truth. Night air was cool on the balcony. But Keanu Reeves felt heat rising in his chest. Alexandra's confession echoed in his mind. She had been sick all this time, carrying her pain in silence, hiding it from him because she thought she was protecting him. He looked at her face, pale yet glowing with quiet strength, and his heart ached. Why would you think leaving me would protect me? He asked, his voice heavy with sorrow. You know what hurts more than loss, Alexandra? It's being shut out of the fight. It's knowing the person you love carried their burden alone. Her eyes filled with guilt. I couldn't watch your heart break again, she whispered. I saw the way grief lived inside you, Keanu. I thought if I disappeared, you could heal without the weight of my illness dragging you down. I was wrong. I see that now. Keanu's throat tightened, his voice trembling. You were never a weight. You were the light I clung to. Without you, I was empty. The silence between them grew heavy, broken only by the distant sound of the city. Alexandra's tears spilled, but then she reached into her bag and pulled out a small envelope. Her hands shook as she placed it in his. I wrote this months ago when I thought I might not have the chance to speak to you again. I carried it everywhere, but tonight I realized I had to give it to you in person. Keanu stared at the envelope, his hands trembling as he opened it. Inside was a letter written in her careful handwriting. Keanu, it read, if you are reading this, it means I could not keep my secret any longer. I want you to know that even in my weakest moments, my love for you was my strength. I walked away not because I stopped loving you, but because I loved you too much to let you watch me fade. But if fate allows, I hope one day we meet again, and I hope you forgive me. His vision blurred with tears. Every word cut him, but every word also healed him. He folded the letter carefully, holding it against his chest. Alexandra stepped closer, her voice low. I thought I was sparing you pain, but I only created distance. I don't want to waste another moment apart. If my time is short, I want it with you. Keanu's chest tightened with both fear and hope. He wanted to protect her, to fight for her, to never let her slip away again. But part of him trembled with doubt. What if loving her now only led to another unbearable goodbye? He closed his eyes, tears falling freely, then opened them to meet hers. I don't care how long we have, Alexandra, he whispered. A day, a year, a lifetime, it doesn't matter. I just don't want to lose you again. Her lips curved into a fragile smile, her eyes glistening. Then let's face it together, she said. No more secrets, no more running. But before Keanu could respond, the faint sound of her breath hitched. She placed her hand over her chest, her face paling. His heart froze as she swayed, and he caught her just as her body weakened in his arms. The collapse of Keanu Reeves held Alexandra tightly in his arms as her body went limp, her breathing shallow and uneven. Panic rushed through him like fire. Stay with me, he whispered desperately, his voice breaking. Please, Alexandra, don't leave me now. He carried her quickly back inside. His friends startled as they saw the scene unfold. Without hesitation, someone called an ambulance, and within minutes the flashing red lights painted the night. Keanu sat in the back of the ambulance, holding her hand tightly as paramedics worked around them. His heart pounded as if it might shatter inside his chest. At the hospital, the sterile smell of antiseptic and the harsh brightness of the lights made everything feel unreal. Keanu paced the hallway outside her room, his hands shaking, his mind racing with every memory they had shared. He remembered the laughter, the quiet walks, the way her eyes always softened when they looked at him. And now, all he could think was how fragile those moments truly were. Finally, the doctor came out, his expression serious. "She's stable for now," he said, "but her condition is more advanced than she admitted. We need to run more tests, and she'll need strong treatment. It will not be easy." Keanu's chest tightened, but he nodded quickly. "Do whatever it takes," he said, his voice steady though his hands trembled. "Don't give up on her." When he was allowed inside, he sat at her bedside, his eyes locked on her pale face. She stirred slightly, her lips parting as she whispered, "I'm sorry." Keanu leaned closer, his voice shaking. "Don't you dare apologize. You don't have to be sorry for being human, for being fragile. You should have told me sooner, but I'm here now, and I'm not leaving." Her eyes glistened, weak but filled with emotion. "I was afraid of being a burden," she whispered softly. His throat tightened, and he shook his head. "You are not a burden, Alexandra. You are the reason I keep going. I don't care how hard this fight will be. I just want to fight it with you." Her tears fell, and a faint smile touched her lips. "Then I can face it," she said. The night stretched on as Keanu sat by her side, holding her hand as the machines hummed gently round them. But deep in his chest, fear gnawed at him. He knew the battle ahead would test them both in ways he could not predict. Yet as he watched her sleep, another thought kept pressing into his mind. Why had she chosen his birthday to return? Was it only coincidence, or was there another truth waiting to be revealed? A truth she still hadn't spoken? The hidden reason. The hospital room was quiet, filled only with the soft hum of machines and the slow rhythm of Alexandra's breathing. Keanu Reeves sat close, his fingers wrapped around hers as if letting go might mean losing her forever. His heart still carried the shock of her collapse, but a deeper thought gnawed at him. Why had she chosen his birthday to return? He studied her face as she slept, fragile yet peaceful, and memories flooded back. She could have come any day, yet she waited until now. It was not chance. There was something more behind her return. When morning light spilled into the room, Alexandra stirred awake. Her eyes opened slowly, meeting his. Her lips trembled with a faint smile. "You stayed," she whispered softly. "I'll always stay," Keanu replied, his voice steady but full of emotion. "But I need to know the truth, Alexandra. Why my birthday? Why tonight of all nights?" She closed her eyes for a moment, gathering strength, then looked at him with tears shining. "Because it's not just your birthday, Keanu. It's also the day I first realized how deeply I loved you. Years ago, I stood by your side quietly, watching you give kindness to everyone around you, even when you were hurting inside. And I told myself, if there was ever one day I had to remind you how loved you are, it would be this day." Keanu's chest tightened, his throat burning with unshed tears. "You came back to remind me?" he whispered. She shook her head weakly. "Not just to remind you. I came back because there's something I never told you, something I was saving for the right moment. When I walked away, I carried not only my sickness, but also a truth I couldn't bring myself to share. And tonight, I couldn't hide it any longer." Keanu leaned closer, his voice trembling. "What truth, Alexandra? Please don't keep me in the dark anymore." Her fingers squeezed his hand, her touch faint but deliberate. "The truth is, I never walked away from us completely. Even when I left, I stayed close in silence. I followed your work, your interviews, your life from a distance. And Keanu, I saw the loneliness in your eyes. I saw how you tried to cover it with humility, with kindness. And every time I saw that, my heart broke. I should have been there. I should have trusted you to carry my pain with me. But I failed." Keanu shook his head, his tears finally spilling. "No, Alexandra, you didn't fail. You were scared, but you're here now. That's what matters." She smiled faintly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I wanted you to know before it's too late, that you were never alone in this world. Even when I was gone, you had my love." Keanu bowed his head, pressing her hand to his heart, his tears falling onto her fingers. His birthday had begun with silence, but now it carried a truth more precious than any gift. Asterisk the promise of tomorrow morning light painted soft golden lines across the hospital room. Keanu Reeves sat by Alexandra's side, her hand resting in his, the machines around them humming steadily like fragile guardians of her breath. The night had been long, heavy with fear, but her words still echoed in his heart, words that told him he was never truly alone, words that carried the weight of love even through years of silence. Keanu's eyes burned with exhaustion, but he did not let go. He had promised himself that no matter what came, he would stay. Alexandra opened her eyes slowly, and when she saw him there, her lips curved into the faintest smile. "You're still here," she whispered. He leaned closer, his voice low but steady. "I told you, I'm not leaving. Not now, not ever. Whatever time we have, Alexandra, we will face it together." Her eyes glistened, and a tear slid down her cheek. "Then I am not afraid anymore," she said softly, "because the greatest gift I could ever have is this moment with you." Keanu's throat tightened, and he pressed her hand to his chest. "You came back on my birthday, Alexandra, but you gave me more than a gift. You gave me a reason to believe again, a reason to hope." She looked at him gently. "Hope is what we both lost, isn't it? But tonight, we found it again. And even if my strength fades tomorrow, promise me you'll keep living. Promise me you won't let grief lock your heart the way it once did." His tears spilled freely, but he nodded firmly. "I promise," he whispered, "because you showed me that love doesn't end when life changes. Love stays. It stays in every kindness, in every moment of courage, in every memory. And I'll carry that with me, always." Alexandra's smile grew faint but peaceful. She closed her eyes, not in surrender, but in rest, and Keanu sat there watching her breathe, feeling a calm he hadn't felt in years. For the first time, the silence around him did not feel empty, it felt full, filled with the weight of their shared truth, their love, their unspoken strength. As the hours passed, Keanu looked out the window at the rising sun. The city was alive, busy and restless, but inside the hospital room, time seemed to slow. He realized then that this was the lesson Alexandra had brought back into his life. It wasn't about the years counted or the losses carried. It was about cherishing the moments that mattered most, the moments of connection, of honesty, of love that refused to fade. On that birthday, Keanu Reeves did not receive fame, fortune, or grand celebrations. He received something greater. He received Alexandra's truth, her love, and the courage to face tomorrow with an open heart.